The finale opens with King Saul attacking David. The fight is fierce, and David comes close to killing Saul, but he chooses mercy, walking away instead. Saul immediately sends his son Ishbaal after him. Father and son join forces to hunt David, but he narrowly escapes. The king commands the army to capture him, and Joab and other witnesses see David leap from a window. Joab takes his brother Eliab's sword and tells the guards to restrain him. Tension is high, loyalty is fractured, and David is officially a fugitive. David rushes to his wife Michal, urging her to flee. She is shocked. He explains that her father is trying to kill him because God chose him to be king. Michal struggles with the truth, confronting David for lying while comforting her during her grief. David insists he's trying to protect her and that if she stays, Saul could use her against him. He tells her that her father slaughtered innocent families because he believed they were the anointed. When guards arrive, Michal helps David escape via rope while she stays behind. Abner storms the house, stabbing the bed but finding nothing. Michal reveals what she knows, that David was anointed, leaving Abner bewildered. Joab intervenes to protect Michal and warns Abner that once David becomes king, there will be nothing to come back to. Abner calls Joab a traitor, and Joab makes Michal leave the room. Joab frees Eliab, explaining that Saul knows the truth about David. He urges Eliab to leave quickly as soldiers are coming for his home. Eliab urges his father Jesse to flee for safety. Meanwhile, Jonathan discovers David in hiding. David swears loyalty to Saul, and Jonathan, who loves David like a brother, tells him to stay hidden until it's safe. David gives Jonathan a message for Michal, apologizing for the path he didn't choose. Back in the palace, Saul reveals he knows about Michal's actions and the forced betrayal. Michal is signaled by his sister Merab to nod, and she confirms the truth. And Saul expresses regret for putting her in danger, hugging her and assuring her she is safe. It turns out Merab lied about David to protect her sister Michal. Later, Michal confronts her sister Merab, upset that she revealed David supposedly threatened her. Merab insists they are all that remain, and the men are mad. Michal struggles with her love for David and the realization that he has been lying to her. She cries, overwhelmed, declaring the throne to be poisonous. Merab comforts her, reminding her the throne only reflects the person who sits on it. Jonathan confronts Saul about rumors of David's assassination attempts. Saul is defensive, but Jonathan reminds his father that he tried to murder David in Philistia. He insists that David loves Saul, Michal, and him, and would never intentionally harm them. Saul calls David a threat, but Jonathan defends him, arguing that the throne only has power if it's held by a just king. Saul accuses Jonathan of choosing his friendship with David over loyalty, but Jonathan insists David is loyal. Saul acknowledges that as long as David lives, his throne will never be secure. Saul then gets angry and throws a spear at Jonathan but misses, and Jonathan leaves ashamed after Saul apologizes. The next morning, Jonathan meets David, warning that it isn't safe. He has cleared a path east toward Raham and mentions Samuel, knowing that might be where David goes. Jonathan apologizes, admitting his father won't relent and fearing it might be the last time they see each other. Jonathan asks David to promise that he will show kindness and mercy to his family once he becomes king, and David vows to do so. David journeys to Ramah, seeking the seer Samuel. He admits uncertainty and fear, realizing that battle strategies won't help him navigate this political and spiritual storm. Samuel instructs him to travel north to Nob, ascend the mountain by secret paths, hide among the priests, and wait for God's guidance. At Nob, David meets Abiathar, receives the sword of Goliath, and is offered the Urim and Thummim for divine guidance. Soldiers loyal to David arrive at Nob, acknowledging the king has gone mad and pledging loyalty to David. Ishbaal informs Saul that the king of Edom is arriving to finalize an alliance, and that he has plans to solidify loyalty among the tribes, involving his sisters. Doeg reports to Saul that David is hiding among the priests of Nob. Abner orders the soldiers to capture David without harming the holy men. They ride to Nob but are thwarted by Samuel, who stands in their way. The ground begins shaking, terrifying Abner and his men, while Eliab climbs the mountain, throwing his sword and screaming, overwhelmed with emotion, and asking what he's supposed to do. The next morning, Saul is shocked to see his soldiers dead, having taken their own lives to escape the torment inflicted by Samuel. He orders the royal guard to assemble, intending to arrest David. Saul marches toward Nob with his army, confronting Samuel and accusing him of cursing his men. Samuel refuses to let Saul pass. When Saul unsheathes his sword, Samuel halts him, using his divine power to create fear, chaos, and psychological torment. He launches a powerful spiritual attack on Saul, trapping him in a kind of hellish realm, forcing Saul to confront the reality of his actions. Samuel shows Saul a reflection of David in a pool of water, symbolizing the true king, and ultimately compels him to speak David's name. Saul and his soldiers pass out, returning to reality, but Saul remains determined to continue hunting David. Doeg finds Saul and points out tracks leading east. Abner reports that most of Saul's men are unfit to travel, but Saul insists they march on Nob with Doeg's men. Saul confronts Ahimelech, accusing him of hiding the traitor David. Ahimelech admits he gave David sacred bread and the sword of Goliath, saying he knew nothing of David's plans. Saul, enraged, orders all the priests killed. Abner and the soldiers refuse, kneeling instead, but Doeg obeys Saul and massacres the priests, burning everything. The next morning, Samuel, exhausted and bleeding, reflects on God's creation and the terrible events that have unfolded. Hela comforts him, acknowledging that he has played his part in the grand design. Samuel dies, having used all his strength and life force to reveal divine truths to Saul. The scene shifts to Gath, where Azor informs King Achish that David is hiding in the caves of Adullam and is being hunted by Saul. Achish sees this as an opportunity to attack Israel, exploiting the kingdom's internal conflict. Saul consults blacksmiths about weapons, while Sarah instructs Jonathan to find David, planning to meet her at the village. Jonathan rides off, determined to protect David. David is with his loyal soldiers when Joab and Eliab and soldiers arrive. Eliab kneels, pledging service to David alongside Joab and the others. David prays in Hebrew for God's protection, seeking refuge until the storm passes. Eshbaal introduces Saul to the king of Edom, who is actually Dayan, a mercenary leader helping Eshbaal survive and plotting against Saul. A flashback shows Dayan promising to teach Eshbaal how to be a king greater than his father, setting the stage for political intrigue. The episode ends with David atop the mountains, seeking guidance and asking God to reveal his will for David's kingdom.